truckers started this with their gut instinct, their gut feeling that, look, the mandates must come down as well as emergency declaration. Because the problem was the Canadian government instituted a policy where Canadian truckers who went across into America to drop car parts, to drop their goods and even bring stuff back in, as Canadian, they couldn't get back into the country unless they were vaccinated. So the truckers took a stand, and I was there for about 3 weeks. It was peaceful. The police worked with the truckers lovingly. I mean, I have photos, videos. The police would tell me on the street, hey, Dr. Alexander, I know you. I've seen you on Fox. I've seen you. I've read your stuff. I support what you're doing. Somehow or the other, the government implemented a policy. We have word that maybe foreign forces came and cracked down on the people. But here's the key. The key here is this. Omicron now presents as the mildest variant. So it does not present a challenge. It is so mild that the doctors, like Dr. McCullough, has even reported that high-risk persons may not even need early treatment. The variant is so mild, but the key issue is this. The vaccine has failed. It is highly ineffective. We even have reports of negative efficacy. And the key is that it does not stop transmission. If a vaccine does not stop transmission, why are you mandating it on me or the truckers as a condition? In other words, their rights now, by taking the vaccine and getting this vaccine passport, have become now privileges where the government can cut it off. The vaccine has failed, does not stop transmission, so the mandates must come to a close. There is no reason anymore for the pandemic emergency to remain in place. The emergency must be lifted. Government must declare the emergency over.
They are doubling down with a failed and toxic policy. I mean, let's be clear, the data is showing that these vaccines, these novel vaccines, are the most toxic intervention in the history of medicine. And yet they propagate and mandate, and they cannot find enough people to vaccinate. They're going after every younger. They're even trying to go after 0 to 5-year-olds, babies and toddlers, for whom the disease is nothing more than a cold. And yet they're subjecting them to a highly toxic intervention. And there's other mandates that have to come down. So the restrictions on physicians to practice medicine, to use their judgment, their clinical expertise, and their experience, their insights into disease, to have free reign to prescribe what they think is best for their patient. They're taking medicines out of pharmacies. They won't fill prescriptions. Pharmacists are obstructing us. Hospital administrators are telling us to use only their policies. We're literally being told how to treat a disease by bureaucrats who don't know medicine, don't know how to care for patients, and they're not COVID experts. If you look at the frontline doctors from all over the world, we've known how to treat this, and yet we don't have the freedom to treat it. We need to restore the rights of physicians to do what they've always done, to use their clinical judgment and expertise, all in the service of their patient as their primary consideration. We need to take medicine back. That's another thing that's been stolen from us. Yes. And I'm speaking here on behalf of physicians everywhere. Many physicians aren't speaking out, but they know their rights and their freedom to practice has been taken from them. And who suffers? The people suffer. If you don't have a doctor in your corner, a doctor who can do the right thing and do the best they can for you, then what happens to you? You get sick and you die. Yes. And so we need to support medicine as well.
Yes, and as Dr. Corey just said rightly, that was one of the biggest failures here. That the colleges of physicians and surgeons in Canada, across the provinces, as well as the state licensing boards here in the United States, tied their hands, and they must be investigated. I call them some of the most corrupted people, rotten to the core what they did, because they punished the doctors. They're going after the doctors' licenses when doctors simply wanted to exercise their clinical judgment and provide optimal treatment. And the reality is this, that early treatment does work, has worked, we have the science, so it is a shame. It is actually, in my view, my words, it is criminal what took place, because many people died who could have been treated and would be alive. And again, my point has always been, with these vaccines and the failures, the lack of proper safety testing, parents must stand up and say, this is the hill I will die on. My child must not be vaccinated with these untested, unsafe vaccines, and I am prepared to lay down and fight the government as long and hard as it will take.
You know, I also want to call on all physicians, all experts. They have been too silent for too long. They know what's happening out there. The oncologists are seeing cancers, stranger cancers, more frequent cancers. in younger and younger people than they've ever seen before. The neurologists are seeing strokes and brain bleeds at an unprecedented rate. The cardiologists are seeing heart attacks. We're seeing cardiac arrest. We have over 300 professional young men footballers collapsing on the field around the world, captured on television and in newspapers, and the vaccines aren't mentioned. The obstetricians and gynecologists are seeing spontaneous abortions, miscarriages, stillbirths, and menstrual irregularities in an epidemic of women, yet they don't speak out. The data is there.
Yes.
And they need to stand up. We're doing that for them at great sacrifice, but we need them to also make sacrifices. Speak truth, speak your science, speak your expertise, but you need to warn the public. We do have a responsibility as a physician society, not only for our patient, but for our public's health.
Yes.
And those experts need to come out. They know the data is there. They whisper about it. They share it secretly, but they are not sharing it openly. We have to expose the truth here. Otherwise, people will die.
And what Dr. Corey is saying is critical, and the key here is this. I knew many doctors and scientists at the CDC, the NIH, the FDA, NIAID, Public Health Agency of Canada, Health Canada, who've told me, and I'm talking about thousands, and even to my friends, they've come back and said, look, the problem is McCullough, Risch, Corey, Tenenbaum, Ursula, Ladapo, Little, all of these people have a bravery. Even you, Dr. Alexander, a sort of courage that we lack. And I love them. I say, look, I love you still the same. And we can't hate anybody. The problem is they decided because their income, their research grants was threatened. And they moved to protect that. But we are calling on them. We're saying you must stand up, doctor. You must stand up, academic scientists in Canada, in America, across the world. And stand up now and wage this battle. Because it is your silence that has contributed to governments doing the things that they have done. And we love the police. And we love the military, and I will never bash police. Whenever police are attacked, I stand up and defend them in Canada and even in America. And as gross as what just took place in Ottawa was, I want to wait and hear who gave the order to crack down and hurt and brutalize people. But I still support the police, and I want that on record.